Cemeteries are supposed to be quiet, but the dead aren't silent. They're waiting. And the night I saw the woman in white by the gates, I realized she wasn't waiting for just anyone. She was waiting for me. It was late October, Friday. I was driving home from work, one of those shifts that stretches past midnight until the world feels like it belongs to no one. The county road was empty, swallowed by trees whose branches scratched against each other in the cold wind. My headlights cut across wet asphalt, and the smell of damp leaves drifted in through a crack in the window. I'd passed the cemetery before, 100 times. Just another landmark you stop noticing. But that night, it felt different. The iron gates were cracked open, rocking slightly as though someone had just slipped through. And standing there, in the glow of my headlights, was a woman. She wore white. Still, completely still. Her long black hair veiled her face. I slowed down. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't help it. My foot pressed the brake on its own. For one split second, I thought maybe she needed help. Maybe she was lost. But something in my gut twisted. Deep down, I knew she wasn't waiting for help. She was waiting for me. I should have driven off. God, I should have. But instead, I pulled over. Hazard lights ticked like a second heartbeat as I stepped into the freezing air. The night smelled wrong. Damp soil, wilted flowers left too long on graves. And under that, something metallic, sharp like blood. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked closer. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Her dress fluttered, though the trees were still. "Hello?" My voice cracked. Her head tilted slowly, too far to one side, like a broken doll. And then her arm lifted, trembling, pointing. Not at me, but deeper, into the cemetery. The gates creaked louder as I stepped through. And the second I crossed that threshold, everything stopped. The wind, the crickets, the ticking hazard lights. Silence swallowed me whole. When I turned back, the woman was gone. The path stretched out, lined with crooked headstones half swallowed by vines. My flashlight shook in my hand, beans slicing across names eroded by time. Some graves were so old the dates were nothing but faint scratches. But the deeper I went, the heavier the air became. Every breath tasted like rust. Then, sound. Not footsteps, not an animal. Crying. Soft, muffled, like it was coming from underground. I swept the light across the ground and froze. One grave looked fresh, the dirt darker than the rest, slightly sunken, like something had pressed up from beneath. And carved into the headstone above it was my last name. Not a distant relative, not a coincidence. It was recent, new. I stumbled back, my breath coming out ragged. And that's when the crying grew louder, clearer. It wasn't just crying anymore. It was my voice. I turned, and she was there, the woman in white. Her hair still covered her face, but I could see her mouth moving, wide, too wide, and the sound pouring out wasn't hers. It was mine. My sobs, my broken, panicked cries echoing back at me. I staggered, flashlight beam shaking, but the ground beneath me felt like it was dragging me down. She raised her hand again, pointing past the headstone with my name. And sticking out of the dirt was something small, something half buried, a rosary. The beads cracked, blackened like they had been burned. The second I touched it, the crying stopped. The silence was worse, because in that silence, I heard my mother's voice, faint, calling my name from beneath the soil. I ran, blind, stumbling between headstones, but no matter how far I moved, the cemetery stretched endlessly, the gates never coming into sight. My lungs burned, sweat cold on my skin. Then I heard a voice, a real one, not hers. "Don't follow her." It was an old man's whisper carried on the wind. I spun, but no one was there. Later, I'd remember the local stories, the ones people laughed off at the diner, about the woman in white who waits at the cemetery gates. They said she points the lost to their graves. Some call her a widow. Some say she was buried alive, clawing at the coffin lid until her nails broke. And some say she doesn't just show you a grave, she shows you your grave. I told myself it was a trick of exhaustion, stress, hallucination. But then I saw her again. She wasn't chasing me. She didn't have to. No matter where I turned, she was always there, just at the edge of my vision. I collapsed by a tall mausoleum, chest heaving. The stone was cold, wet against my back. I pressed my ear to the heavy iron door, desperate for silence. But silence wasn't what I got. Whispers seeped through, dozens of voices, some laughing, some crying, and one, sharp, clear, speaking my full name. The door groaned open itself. Inside, stairs descended into darkness. And there she was again, at the threshold, pointing, always pointing. I should have run. I didn't. Step by step, I went down. The air grew thick with rot. Damp stone walls oozed moisture. The smell of decay was so strong I gagged, and the whispers grew louder until they weren't whispers at all. They were screams. My flashlight flickered to life one last time, and in that pale beam, I saw them. Rows of figures dressed in white, motionless, silent. Every single one of them had my face. Their eyes were black, empty holes, their mouths twisted wide, sobbing my voice, laughing in my tone, screaming in echoes of myself. The light went out. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. I was outside, lying in the grass just beyond the gates. My car still idled where I left it, hazard lights blinking. I wanted to believe it was a dream, hallucination. But when I checked the cemetery records online, the grave was there, with my last name, and carved beneath it, clear as day, was a death date. Next week. So, if you ever find yourself on that county road at night, and you see her, the woman in white by the gates, don't stop. Don't look at her. And for the love of God, don't follow where she points, because she isn't showing you the dead. She's showing you where you'll be buried.